Hi everyone, I wanted to talk to you about something that's kind of been a hot topic here recently, and that's actually socialism. So I wanted to talk to you about what are the problems with socialism. And what I tried to do here is kind of take an objective look at socialism and see right or wrong, what the truth is that's been out in the media, what the false has been out in the media, and to be able to kind of objectively look at that and see what is the truth, what isn't, and be able to present that to you today. So a few of the things I found, at least initially, was socialism as a form of government received a lot of attention and publicity in the most recent presidential elections, obviously. Many millennials did not grow up with the same discomfort toward communism and socialism that their parents or grandparents might have. I have objectively researched this information, and I wanted to show you my findings, which basically shows that capitalism as a form of government is a much better system than socialism. So we'll go over those facts. So why has socialism as an ideology become so popular? Well, if you give up a little bit of your freedom, you'll get a lot more security, is what they say. And that actually came from, the author's name was Perry, of Why Socialism Always Fails. There is an inherent inequality of income distribution in capitalism. It provides a more fair way of distributing wealth, is what they say about communism and socialism. And there's a fear that capitalism will oppress the less fortunate, the crippled, the elderly, the poor, etc. So America's first attempt at socialism, most people don't realize this, was by the Puritan Pilgrims in 1620. And the Pilgrims decided that their new community would practice collective socialism. All labor was communal, with men raising the crops for all of the families and women engaged in domestic chores for their neighbors. The Pilgrims, a pious and decent people, discovered that even the best of men cannot thrive under socialism, incentive-crushing systems. This experiment with socialism, probably the best chance for success amongst such selfless, righteous people, failed miserably. The Puritans discovered that the government cannot deny man's inherent desire to work hard to provide for his own family and be rewarded when his labor exceeds his neighbor's. And that's from, the author's name was Turney, and that's from America's First Experiment with Socialism. Continuing that, having learned a valuable lesson about human nature, the Pilgrims established a new economic system that encourages and rewards personal initiative instead of collective labor force. Each family was given a plot of land on which they grew their own crops. Soon each family was pulling its own weight. In fact, the harvest was so bountiful that the Pilgrims were able to trade with the Native Americans and get some of the other things that they needed. The appeal of socialism is that it seems a benevolent form of government where everyone works to help his fellow citizen. But as the Puritans discovered, socialism denies man's innate incentive to work hard for his own family, not his neighbors. Capitalism, while not perfect, gives man the incentive he needs to work hard for his family and thereby help the entire community, not by force, but out of true generosity. So, have there been any other attempts at socialism? Well, you know there have. Other attempts that we know about, Eastern Europe, which is the greater Soviet Union and some of the countries that they took over. The economy collapsed after shortages of food and other needed essentials. And that's from, the author's name on that was Blunden, from Stalinism, Its Origin and Future. Cuba and China limited success after allowing free enterprise to step in. Korea and others struggled with food shortages and other hardships. Okay, and both of those are from, the author's name is Seth, from Socialist Economies, How China, Cuba, and North Korea. Then Scandinavian countries came up in the news recently, with one of the presidential candidates quoting that Scandinavian countries were socialist. What we found is that Finland, Switzerland, and Netherlands have recently been called socialist, but this was more as a political ploy to show them as a successful socialist country. They get away with this because of their centralized healthcare and heavy tax burden, but they're a free enterprise capitalist economy, not socialist. And that information comes from Iacono, The Myth of Scandinavian Socialism. So those are some of the things that are out there. The flaws with socialism is a system that ignores incentives, and that's again from Perry. Socialism benefits the few at the expense of the many. Winston Churchill once noted, the inherent virtue of socialism is the equal sharing of miseries. And that's from Hawkins in 7 Reasons Socialism Will Make You Poorer Than Capitalism. Socialism is too slow to adapt, also from Hawkins. Socialism is inherently wasteful. Milton Friedman once said, nobody spends someone else's money as carefully as he spends his own, again from Hawkins. Why capitalism then, should we ask? Well, prices are determined by market forces, that's from Perry. There's a profit and loss system of accounting by Perry. There are private property rights, Perry says. Capitalism encourages entrepreneurship. A claim for equality of material position can only be met by a government with totalitarian powers. Hawkins points that out. Capitalism leads to innovation. Capitalism produces more economic growth. Capitalism works in concert with human nature, while socialism works against it. A man will work much harder to take care of himself and the family and friends than he will to make money for the state. Those are all facts from Hawkins. So why should millennials embrace capitalism? Capitalism makes the world cleaner, less violent, and less poor. That's from Carter, 2016. Capitalism is the reason you're probably not a farmer. Capitalism is the main reason you weren't drafted into the army. Free enterprise is the most economic system, and you already prefer capitalism anyway. So how can I say these things? Capitalism is the reason you're probably not a farmer. Because of the industrialization of the free market economy, the mechanization has allowed one farmer to do much more, and so many people that would normally have to farm have now got onto the cities and gotten jobs that are much less strenuous and much easier. Also, I say you already prefer capitalism anyway. Many of the features and benefits that young people enjoy, Apple iPhones, Google, the ability to surf and make things happen on the internet and be able to purchase on the internet almost anything you need, all of that happens because of the strong free market economy. So that's very important to understand. So most people may think that socialism sounds like a wonderful idea, and it is. If people could share and do things for each other without any selfish gain, that would be a wonderful theory, but it just doesn't work because that's not our human nature. So it's very important to understand that we already believe in capitalism. So what are the takeaways? Socialism as a form of government is not as effective as capitalism for the success of a nation. Socialism has failed on more than one occasion and still only survives with the iron fist of dictatorship or compromise with allowing some free market economy. Capitalism is not a perfect system, but is far superior to socialism because it solves the inherent problems in socialism. Though many Americans, including millennials, love the socialist idea of sharing with everyone, in the long run, socialism does not work. We are at heart capitalists because we just know that it works better. So the main difference between capitalism and socialism is that capitalism works. That's something that Perry pointed out in his article. Vote for capitalism. This is what I call you to action for. Vote for capitalism because we want to preserve freedom and happiness for our families today and for years to come. Thank you.